coming up on show 721, the batteries are coming to kick the arse of the Mercedes G-Class. I'll give you more details, stick around. Strange intro, I know. Sorry. Also, we're talking about 50,000 Mercedes-Benz EQCs being made every single year. The 2020 Porsche Taycan Turbo S gets yet another range figure. The MEV Be Anywhere EV, strange name, is an affordable two-seater, tiny city car made here in Manchester. And the QEV is going to enter Extreme E Racing. And there's more stories, because there's lots going on today. Stick around, I'll tell you more. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to EV News Daily. Start of the week, Monday 9th of March. My name is Martyn Lee, and I go through every EV story, so you don't have to. Thank you as always to myev.com. They do help me make this show. Got a picture from MyEV HQ the other day, actually on my Skype, of a Range Rover plug-in hybrid being charged inside the garage at MyEV headquarters in Miami, and a very, very nice Range Rover it was as well. I'm sure you can find those cars online at myev.com. It wasn't one they're selling, by the way. They don't actually buy and sell the cars themselves. It's a marketplace to connect people in the USA. Check it out. It's not easy to introduce electric cars at high scale. Large legacy car makers are learning this the hard way. Earlier this year, we heard that Mercedes-Benz troubles with lithium-ion battery supplies threatened the planned production rate of the all-electric EQC model. Well, the company admits that production of the EQC is, and has been, and continues to be, a learning curve, says InsideEVs. Well, Mercedes-Benz R&D board member Markus Schafer recently said that the company is back on track with the EQC production at a rate that will allow it to achieve 50,000 EQC units this year in 2020. The main problem seems to be the battery constraints. Their batteries come from LG Chem. They're made at a plant in Poland, and hopefully that's now been resolved for good. Battery supply has long been the bane of the lives of anybody making EVs, and that includes Tesla as well. They are not immune from this. They always said that, we could make a semi-truck now. We could make more home storage. We can't. We're already the world's biggest consumer of lithium-ion battery cells. They need all the 18650s and the 2170s they can possibly get. Well, Mr. Mercedes-Benz, Markus Schafer, said this, and I quote, "It's definitely a new game, dealing with the new platforms and dealing with an EV. The issue was not driven by the factory or production processes, but rather from the battery factory and battery equipment. The ramping up of the battery plant with 700 million euros worth of investment in LG Chem was definitely a challenge and limiting factor. So far, we have overcome the issues and are planning significant numbers for the EQC, returning to the initial number of 50,000 we expected from this year." End quote. Yeah, it was sometime last year that I read an article from Mercedes-Benz saying that 50,000 was the number they always wanted to do for the EQC, and then that number, I imagine, maybe got revised down when they had those battery shortages from LG Chem. Although, if I recall, and the old brain fades a bit with age, if I recall, all the stories said they were having issues with battery supply, but Mercedes-Benz denied it and said they weren't on a slowdown. Well, now they said they're on a speed up, even though they didn't officially slow down. Hey, look, it's good news overall. And 50,000 EQC will be made this year. For those that haven't heard me talk about it recently, I was over at Richard's place, which is about 15 minutes away, maybe 20 minutes away from where I live. rsimmons.co.uk is his website. It's Simmons with a Y, no D, rsymmons.co.uk. And he sells pretty much more Teslas in the UK than anyone apart from Tesla, but he also has a few other really interesting EVs inside his gorgeous new warehouse there, and he has a Mercedes-Benz EQC in stock at the moment, and I didn't drive it, but I was sitting in it the other day when I went over there to see the guys, and it's such a nice place to be inside the Mercedes-Benz EQC. I know the range isn't as good as it can possibly be. It's a lovely place to sit inside, technically called the Mercedes-Benz EQC 400, that's the name. Range of 417 kilometres officially. That's 259 miles officially on the WLTP test cycle. The battery pack is 800, sorry, it's definitely not 800 of anything. It's 80 kilowatt hours. That's made up of 300, is what I'm thinking. 384 individual cells make up the battery pack. 0 to 62 is dispatched in 5.1 seconds. And of course, dual motor, all-wheel drive, lovely car. Staying with Mercedes-Benz, and the G-Class electric version is coming. In terms of pop culture, the Mercedes-Benz G-Class, or even the G-Wagon, as you may have heard it called, is one of the most iconic SUVs, usually shown as the go-to car for bad guys and gangsters and mobsters, the rich, the powerful individuals with money to burn, says Motor1.com. Mercedes-Benz has announced that initial sketches and indeed concept work has now begun on the EV version of an all-electric G-Class. In lieu of the cancelled Geneva Motor Show, Car Advice spoke to Mercedes-Benz Cars CEO and Daimler AG chairman, Ola Källenius. He said this, and I quote, "Yes, the G is going electric. We have kicked off the concept work for this, so in a few years you'll be able to go electric in the G as well." I'll pop a link into Motor1 in the show notes if you want to read more. And you know what? The G-Wagon, the G-Class, is such a boxy, iconic design as well that it reminds me of the Hummer. Not in, I suppose they're both big, unnecessarily big cars in different ways, but also it's an iconic car, iconic name, very famous image, even for people that aren't into cars. When you see a picture of a Hummer, you see a G-Wagon, you know you're looking at something kind of legendary. Let's move on, and let's talk Porsche Taycan. And the Taycan Turbo has got another range, maybe not officially, but another range for us to try and get our heads around. When the EPA released the battery range numbers for the Taycan, 201 miles for the Turbo. Yeah, 201 was not what Porsche wanted, and 192, even worse, for the Turbo S. It was Porsche's engineering equivalent of the Titanic hitting the iceberg, says Motor Trend. Naturally, the Tesla community gloated. The Taycan appears to be Europe's Strike 3. There was the Jaguar, the I-Pace, the Audi. They both swung and largely missed. I-Pace is 234 miles, e-tron's 204. Meanwhile, the Tesla Model S long range still does 390 miles, nearly double that of what we've mentioned already, before you even have to think about finding a supercharger. Well, Porsche commissioned their own test by an independent testing firm called AMCI, with certainly the right chops to do this kind of thing. They came up with a distance of 37% more. 275 miles was the Turbo's range, and 278 actually on the highway course. Now, Motor Trend have got involved. Now it's our turn, say Motor Trend, with our own instrumentation. To save you further suspense, the city, highway and combined ranges for the Porsche Taycan Turbo SR. On city, 240, on highway, 274, and combined, 254. So a number there far away from the EPA number. I've seen a lot of reviews actually, and maybe, I don't know whether the Porsche PR people went out of their way to be open to US journalists to give them opportunities to drive the car and do range tests, maybe more than they would have done if they weren't having to go into this fight about the range. And all of them, actually, that I read from the journos that got to drive them said, look, actually, we went a lot further than the EPA range. It's a curious one. It's one that I watch and try and understand, obviously, from a different country here. And I'm trying to understand that the EPA ask car manufacturers to submit the data and what the range is. But in this case, they did their own testing on the Porsche. Like Tesla just supply the range and the data to back it up. But Porsche got tested by the EPA, and that might be one of the reasons that the number is so far off what everyone else seems to be getting. It's a really weird one. But here we go, Motor Trend doing their own test and saying the Taycan Turbo S as well, a combined of 254. And that does seem more like it. And even though 254 might not be, all right, winning the long distance medal over a Tesla Model S, but, you know, there aren't many sports cars that you can throw around the track all day and still do 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. Okay, let's go to the other end of the scale. We've talked about the Porsche Taycan. Let's talk about a tiny, tiny car called the MEV. MEV? I think it's called the MEV. Be Anywhere, an affordable electric city car born here in the UK. Earlier last week, Dacia unveiled the Spring Electric concept. Now, Dacia said it would be the cheapest, most affordable all-electric vehicle in Europe when it reaches production. Some might say, which is what Top Gear have done here with Manchester song lyrics from Oasis, some might say, that's great news, but Manchester-based startup MEV has claimed its Be Anywhere EV is going to be significantly cheaper, says Top Gear magazine. Apparently, the two-seater urban vehicle has been designed from the outset to be affordable. Price is going to be similar to that of an 8-year-old second-hand hatchback. And that's only about the only specific detail that we have, given the Be Anywhere has not really had much press attention, other than the fact that she's electric. All right, okay, last Oasis reference in this article, I promise. Will feature an innovative chassis design, graphene-based composite body panels to reduce production and component costs. But otherwise, how far does it go? What's the battery? What's it going to cost us? How many people does it even sit? We don't know. I think it's a two-seater. It's a tiny little city car, not suitable for everybody, but some use cases, a great EV. The Spanish technology firm QEV Technologies is going to be entering the 2021 season of Extreme E, becoming the fifth team to announce their participation in the all-new and all-electric off-road series, says the Checkered Flag website. The firm is known worldwide for its electric innovations as they design and manufacture electric drivetrains for different motorsport disciplines. They're involved in Formula E with NIO and secured the driver's title in the first season with Nelson Piquet Jr. The former Formula One driver spent a lot of his career as a test driver, actually. Former McLaren guy, Pedro de la Rosa, will become the team principal of this new team entering Extreme E, taking extreme electric racing to some of the most extreme environments on planet Earth. Right, next, let's talk about Volkswagen. They don't say, but a report says they will become the first global automaker to make money selling battery-only electric vehicles, with profits starting in 2022. According to this report, which has been written by a Swiss investment bank called UBS, says Forbes website today. Well, clearly they don't class Tesla as a global automaker. They do, after all, make their cars in America and China. They have, after all, made a profit in the past, but according to UBS, Volkswagen will be the first global automaker to turn a profit making EVs. That might raise eyebrows at General Motors as well. General Motors last week at its EV Day said that their EVs will be profitable from the get-go. Didn't say when, but given their cars are coming out at the end of 2020, you would think that's before 2022. Maybe UBS weren't on the internet that day and saw that particular presentation. The prediction that UBS make for VW will be welcomed by investors, given the company is currently putting in 36 billion euros through to 2024 on a family of electric cars on a platform called MEB. Well, the UBS report is also bad news for plug-in hybrid cars, if you believe this UBS report. They say that plug-in hybrids will be 1.4% of the market by 2025. And again, I'm sure they've had smart people work on this. I'm sure there are people at UBS far smarter and paid far more handsomely than I am. But the plug-in hybrid market being 1.4%, okay, that's globally. Maybe. There'll be a lot of territories that are zero. Yeah, maybe. But the plug-ins are going to be a big deal for the next 15 years. Just the use case of some plug-in hybrid cars makes sense. I'd love you to buy, if you haven't got an EV yet, I'd love you to buy an all-electric car. I truly believe that there is an EV out there for you, if you don't own one yet, that suits your use case, maybe all-electric, or even one with a range extender like the BMW i3. If you really want that security, that little blanket just to make sure that you're not going to run out of battery power. But for some people, they would prefer a plug-in hybrid just for that big combustion engine, and I understand it. I don't agree, but I understand it. And so I don't know if this report is all it's cracked up to be. Let's move on and talk Honda. They've pulled the plug. Yeah, Pun intended. On the Honda Clarity, says Roadshow by CNET, Honda said it discontinued the Clarity Electric at the end of 2019. Right now, there's no plans for the model to return. The EV's death has been confirmed to CNET. They said, we will be introducing new, highly appealing, all-electric cars to the US market in the years ahead. End quote. That is the most frustrating, woolly, non-committal, ridiculous statement to make. They had to say something, so they said, we will be introducing all-electric vehicles for the US market in the years ahead. Amazing. That's like me saying, I'm going to be losing weight and eating less chocolate in the years ahead. I'm sure one day, this belly will get a little bit smaller, and one day I'll tighten the belt an extra rung. Ain't going to be this week, though. Ain't going to be this month. Oh, Honda. There's two Japanese automakers that I'm like on Amber Alert for. Nissan and Honda. The Honda E is a spectacular car, but I really hope it's not a one-off. The Nissan Leaf is the world's biggest selling EV. Only just. Tesla are fast approaching with Model 3. But I worry about Nissan and think, did they get to a certain plateau and stop innovating? Because they ruled the roost a few years ago. And the Leaf is still a great car. They've still increased the battery size for a third time now, and it's a big car, suits families, lovely place to be. Don't get me wrong, I'd love one. It would, going from the Zoe to that would be an upgrade in terms of space. But I worry. It's not red alert, amber alert for both Honda and Nissan. I just really would love them to talk about a specific roadmap of specific things that we can get excited about rather than just issuing statements saying we will make electric cars in the years ahead. The battery electric version of the Clarity rounded out a lineup of alternative fueled versions of the car, like the plug-in hybrid version of the Clarity, which is still on sale. Final story for today. The more electric cars roam around urban areas and cities, the more the demand for wireless charging will be. The global wireless electric vehicle charging market will reach $1.5 billion by 2025 annually, reports Renewable Energy magazine. Currently, the very limited number of countries working on wireless charging for EVs means that places like, the Joint Transportation Research Programme at Purdue University. The director announced a collaboration recently with the German-based Magment Concrete Wireless Power. The partnership will fulfill the needs of electric vehicles, including wireless charging. And it's something that I have an irrational fascination with. I just think wireless charging is awesome. I don't even need it. Like, plugging in a cable isn't arduous, but with wireless charging these days, they've got the losses down to the same as a cable because people just presume it's 20% efficient because they can't get their head around induction charging, like things passing through the air. They're like, well, surely loads wasted. No, it's like over 90%, like mid 90% plus efficient now, which is about the same as plugging in with a cable. That's mind-blowing, right? And also, it just seems cool, like just driving over a plate or pulling into a car park where every car park space has an induction pad. And a bit like when I go to bed at night and put my mobile phone on my bedside cabinet and it just charges. I haven't plugged my phone in months, my iPhone. I can't think the last time I did plug it in to charge it. Maybe in the car, because, it would have been, when I was in the car and I was like, down to 10%. But that was a long time ago. Do we need wireless charging for EVs? Absolutely not. Am I still ridiculously fascinated with the concept? Yes. It's the kind of thing that I watched Tomorrow's World for back in the day. Right, question of the week this week. Tesla will be delivering the first Model Ys this week to customers. They have said in the past the Model Y is the most important car the company will make. It will sell more than the Model 3. It is unlike Tesla to do anything without a fanfare, but it seems there's no launch event and it's not a coronavirus thing. There wasn't an event that was then cancelled. There's no event. The Model Y this week, maybe by the end of the week, will be in the hands of real customers, and they're quietly doing it. My question of the week, why do you think Tesla are wrapping up the rule book and ignoring any form of publicity with the Model Y launch? No usual fanfare. And it seems weird, and I can't work out why. So I'm going to put it to the test with the audience of this podcast. Email me, hello@evnewsdaily.com. Leave a comment on the YouTube show. Thank you to the premium partners of the podcast. That's Phil Roberts of Electric Future, Brad Crosby, Avid Technology, and I've got to catch up with Ryan. My goodness me, Ryan Morner, Avid, emailed me a few days ago and I've not replied. I'm just the worst human being in the world. You know what? I heard a phrase recently called baby brain. I wonder. It just could be age, but I wonder if slightly disorganised at the moment. Brightsmith for clean tech talent, and our new premium partners, Porsche of the Village, Cincinnati, and Audi at Cincinnati East. Well, if you want to check out any previous show, 720 of them in the archive, please leave a comment or rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Helps me grow the show. Have a wonderful day. Catch you soon. Remember, there is no such thing as a self-charging hybrid.